I get lots of questions about buying investment properties in the Sarasota area. Now, sometimes people are okay with having an annual rental or something, that might be rented out a few months or 6 months at a time. But now more and more people are looking for those short-term rentals. But when we start to have that conversation, often people are quite surprised, even those investor pros from other areas, they are surprised on where you can own those short-term rental properties here in Sarasota and Manatee Counties. So because I answer this question so often, I thought I'd make a video on it. So here we go. Hi, I'm Jill Thomas, and each week I bring new videos about what it's like to live here in the Sunshine State, help you to understand what the Sarasota, Manatee Counties are like. And then of course, I like to share about real estate. So if making a move to this area has been on your radar, then this is the channel for you. Be sure to tap the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and keep watching. But then when you're ready to kind of take it up to the next level, you go, okay, I've watched enough videos, I'm intrigued, then please give me a call, text, or email me. I'm here to help you out. So you've been thinking about getting an investment property, or maybe you do need to buy something. Maybe you want to do a 1031 exchange. Well, the rental rates in our area right now is at an all-time high. So tenants are paying a premium to rent a property, whether it's annually or short term. So if you can find just the right property, you could do quite well with having an Airbnb. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm going to interchange the words Airbnb, short-term rentals, and even VRBO or Verbo, however you're supposed to say it. Because that's the language people use when they come down here and talk to me. They go, they'll just say, I want an Airbnb. That's what I want. I want Airbnb the property. So they're referencing those shorter terms, like a week or less typically. I know on those platforms, you can rent them out for longer periods, for weeks or even months at a time, and that's okay too. But like I said, I'm just, for the sake of this video, I'm going to interchange those words. So if I say one, I mean all three of those: Airbnb, VRBO, short-term rentals. Number one, misconception. Okay, this is the biggest misconception that people have when I first start talking to them about buying an Airbnb. They'll say, okay, there's no HOA dues, there's no deed restrictions, there's no management company, so I can rent it out as frequently as I want. Well, if you're in Sarasota County, that is not true. Now, you might not have an HOA over you, you might not have those deed restrictions, but in Sarasota County, the shortest time you can rent out a property is for 1 month and 1 month only. Now, you can do it 12 times a year, or you can rent it out for 2 or 3 months. That's okay, but no less than 1 month. And when I tell people that, it's like pouring a bucket of ice water over their head. They are in shock about this. And so legally, technically, in Sarasota County, it's 1 month minimum for those rentals. So you cannot Airbnb properties. If you don't, again, no HOA, sure, and I'll have people that look at listings and go, oh, no, Jill, it's okay. Because look, there's no HOA dues, there's no association, things like that. And I'm like, still can't do it. I'm really sorry. I mean, you could do it, but it's not legal. Okay, so number one was misconception, but I have some good news for you, because number two is the exception. We do have an exception in Sarasota County to the 1 month minimum rental rule. So first, let me tell you a little bit more about Sarasota County. So of course, we've got the whole county, and within the county, we've got the different towns. We've got Sarasota, we got Nokomis and Osprey. Then we've got Venice, Northport, and actually a little bit of Englewood is in Sarasota County, not much. The rest of it's down in Charlotte County, south of us there. So we've got these different towns. Now, right now, I just want to talk about the area that has the Sarasota mailing address. So we've got Sarasota at the top, and then over to the west, around the downtown area, those are the city limits of Sarasota. And this is what kind of confuses people when I explain this. So we've got the whole area called Sarasota, but one little section is city limits. The rest is just the county. And I live in the county. I don't live in the city. So I have a Sarasota mailing address. When people ask me, Jill, where do you live? I say Sarasota. This is my home. But this one little section, city limits, and within the city limits, they have some different rules. Things are run differently. They have their own council members. There's a mayor for the city of Sarasota that is not the mayor for the county, things like that. Even if I want to pull permits on a home, I need to know if it's in the county or the city, because that will determine which website I go to look at those permits. So those are differences there. So like I said, they have their own rules or some different ordinances. And the one difference is in the county, 1 month minimum. In the city, it's a 1 week minimum. So that's our good news. That's the exception, that if you have a home in the city limits, then you are able to rent it out 1 week at a time if you want. Now, the area that contains the city limits, like I said, is the downtown area, St. Armand's and Lido Key, which all of that's the 34236 zip code. The area just to the north of that, north of Fruitville, and even up some into the museum area, and then the area south of that. Most of it's west of the trail, but some of it's east of the trail as well. A little bit of the Southgate, Gulfgate area, and then actually just the northern part of Siesta Key. There's not much with the single family homes on Siesta Key that permit short-term rentals, which people are always super surprised about. They just assume because you're out there on the water that you can do those short-term rentals, but you cannot. So those are the areas that include it. Now, when I was doing some research today, I found the actual ordinances, the rules about whether or not you would have a short-term rental. Online, they call it a vacation rental. I think that's what they called it. So I'm going to drop a link to that in the description below. And I think it's really important for you to read through that if you are looking to have a short-term rental in the city limits, because there might be some other rules or different things that they want you to adhere to. I didn't see anything too mind-blowing that would be a deal breaker for somebody, but you just want to know what is expected of you so you can go along with that. So I think that's a really good thing. Now, on occasion, we will see homes that are heavily marketed as being short-term rental permitted, and they're not in the city limits. Often those properties will be maybe in Venice or in Nokomis, maybe some in Englewood, and they're going to be farther west. So on occasion, there could be some random properties. Sorry, my dog's barking. She just wants to play. You'll find some random properties or lots that do allow short-term rentals. For whatever reason, those plots were zoned to permit that. But we want to confirm with the county, with that area. Maybe we need to contact the folks in Venice or people in Northport or in Englewood, just to make sure, so you're making a wise investment and you know what you're getting yourself into in terms of what's permitted. Now, if you see something that's heavily marketed and it's farther east, my guess is they're not using the property the way that they're supposed to be using it, or what it's permitted for. But again, we'll confirm that just to be sure. So never fear, we'll just double and triple check. All right, at first we talked about the misconception, and then I gave you an exception. Now I want to give you extra information. I'm trying to follow a little theme here. Okay, so the first thing I want to mention to you is, as you probably know, that here in the state of Florida, we do not pay state income tax, right? Yay. Okay, we love that. But the state has to get their money from somewhere. So often they get their money from the tourists. So we have something called a tourist tax, and it gets tagged on to some things. And one thing is, it gets tagged on to, like, if somebody rents a hotel, but also now short-term rentals. So if you rent out your property for less than 6 months, you have to pay the tourist tax. That has to be paid. And so I just want to point that out to you so you can check with your accountant or, your tax professional to make sure that you're doing this the right way, and you factor that in on how you handle things. And when I say less than 6 months, I'm not saying, oh, well, if I have an Airbnb and it's rented out at least 8 months out of the year from different folks, then I'm covered. No, it's like the only way you wouldn't pay it is if you rented out to one person for 6 months and a day. That's how you would avoid it. So it doesn't mean that you've got different tenants in the house for more than 6 months out of the year. So watch that tourist tax, because that could really bite you in the end. So be careful with that. The second thing I want to point out to you is, when we enter a property in the MLS, when we list a property, there's a drop-down box for us to fill out, and it says how often, or what's the minimum amount of time a property can be rented. So some properties will say no minimum, It could be 3 to 7 days, I think it says, or like weekly, 2 weeks, could be monthly, 3 months, 6 months or annual. Okay, so we have these different options we can choose, but so often that information is incorrect. And sometimes it'll say no minimum when there's clearly rental restrictions. I mean, I've seen no minimum where it's a tight, tough association and it's only annual rentals. So just because that's marked, don't take that for gospel. It may or may not be accurate. So if you're not sure, please let me know, because so often, again, I'll have people who get really excited. They go, no, Jill, look, there's no deed restrictions, 0 HOA dues. It says no minimum. Okay, I can do it. No, you can't. Okay, so just because that's what it says in there doesn't mean it's accurate. So we've got to double check that. So don't get too terribly excited right away. Okay, and the third thing I want to mention to you under this extra information is I am fully aware of some homes that are in the county where it should only be 1 month minimum, but the owners are clearly using it for short-term rentals. I have a listing right now, house across the street. We are in the county. There's no way we're in the city limits, and they're using it as an Airbnb. So they're not supposed to, but they do. And I'm aware of other properties too. There's a listing I called on for some folks last week, and I found out that, it's being used. It's on the VRBO website. I asked the agent about that because I said, well, it shouldn't be rented like that. What if somebody buys it and they get in trouble because it's, being used for short-term rentals? And he's just like, they're not, nobody's going to know. What difference, he was pretty comfortable with the idea of doing it like that. And I think you can get away with it for a while, but I think the day's going to come where the county's going to start to crack down on those things more. So you do need to be careful. I'm not going to recommend that you take the liberty of using a property an incorrect way. I can't stop you either. I'm not going to turn you in, but I think at a minimum, I at least need to make you aware of what the rules are. And the reason why for that too is because the number 4 I want to tell you is out on St. Armands and Lido Key. I had mentioned before that you can't have short-term rentals out there. It's really the only beachfront area where you can do the 1 week minimum. And the owners around there are getting pretty upset with that. They don't like it. The surrounding homes are being used like a hotel. So they're heavily petitioning that gets changed, and it could get changed in the future. So I think that's important for you to know. And as a result, that could trickle through maybe other areas as well where the authorities wake up and they start to crack down. So I do want you to be just cautious of that and just be made aware. And then the 5th thing I want to tell you is that we're just, again, talking about homes, not condos. All the condos have their own rules. With that, there's very few that you can Airbnb. You do those really short-term rentals, which a lot of people still look for. And those condos are going to be primarily out on Siesta Key. And that really, talking about the condos, is a video for another day, but I just wanted to throw that out to you also. So that is our extra information. Okay, so number 1 was misconception. Number 2 is exception. Number 3 was extra information. Number 4 is Manatee County. I couldn't think of anything else to say to kind of make it rhyme or flow. So sorry about that. All right, so Manatee County, because so far all we've talked about is Sarasota County. Now, a while back, I was trying to get some concrete answers from the county. I always prefer to email because then I have a paper trail. I can hold them to something if ends up that it doesn't work out right. Well, I emailed them several times and I never got a response back. So then I called and asked about the short-term rental situation. And the girl goes, oh, Airbnb? I said, yeah. She goes, oh yeah, there's no rules. I said, there's no rules anywhere in Manatee County about that. She goes, nah. So unless there's an HOA that would override that, if you buy a house in Manatee County where there's no, management company or deed restrictions like that, you can do with the property as you wish when it comes to rentals. You can even do 1 night at a time. According to the woman I talked to on the phone, there were no restrictions. So that's really great because that's going to give you a load of opportunity, a load of choices in terms of price point, location, condition. I mean, just everything, because right now in Sarasota County, you're really limited to the city, which is much more expensive. So that's pretty nice. Now, again, if you are focusing in on a property there in Manatee County, we can try to get a hold of somebody at the county to get a concrete answer just to be sure. But that is my understanding to this point. And I've talked about this with other agents and that was their understanding as well. So Manatee County, you've got a lot of opportunity. And then number 5, prices. Again, I kind of gave it up and trying to be creative to make all of my points sort of flow. Okay, so prices, like I just said, in Manatee County, you do have a lot more options. Purchase a property for short-term rentals. In Sarasota County, because it's just the city limits and because it's near downtown and farther west, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a decent property under $400,000 that you can rent out short-term. If you did, it would probably be a bit of a mess. It would be a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, that kind of thing. So you're definitely going to be paying premium, top dollar to be in the city of Sarasota to find that Airbnb. In Manatee County, you're going to be able to find properties under $400,000 that you can rent out. A lot of them are going to be a little bit farther west. If you're thinking about I'll get something on Lakewood Ranch. No, there's HOAs and stuff there. So all of those hot spots right now for buying, you would not be able to do those Airbnbs there. So we're talking a little bit farther west, which is kind of nice. You can get close to the beaches. Some of the homes will be older, but there is opportunity there. I've been able to help people find places this year, so that's been pretty good. So I've had some success there up in Manatee County to find properties at decent prices. All right, so there we go. I hope I gave you some good food for thought when you're considering buying property that you can rent out short term. You can Airbnb that thing here in Sarasota or Manatee counties. And hopefully I gave you some other things to think about too, to avoid some pitfalls as well. So you can make very good choices for yourself. Now, as always, give me a call if there's something I can do to help you out with. If I don't know the answer, I'll see what I can do to get that for you, or at least kind of push you in the right direction so you can make very good choices for yourself. Well, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. If you made it this far, please hit that like button. That would be awesome. And you guys have a great day. Thanks so much.